this video I'll be kayaking from the slipway in Lyme Regis along the coast past Charmouth to Golden Cap. We'll stop momentarily at Golden Cap for some lunch before heading back to Lyme Regis straight across the bay. It should be about a 45-minute to an hour's paddle, and along the way I'll chat to you with some hopefully interesting facts and stories. Perhaps today isn't the best day for a kayak, but I'll tell you a little bit about the Coastal Protection Project, which started in Lyme in the 1990s. Construction of this seawall began in 2013 to build a 400-metre seawall. It involved using 2,500 soil nails, a 27-metre deep anchored piled wall with anchors 46 metres long. The project cost almost £20 million and was opened in 2015 following the completion of the Phase 4 of the Environmental Improvement Scheme. So we're at the slipway again, and this is much better weather. This time I'm joined in the yellow kayak by the lovely Victoria. Mary Anning is a name you may know if you've been to Lyme Regis before. She was born on the 21st of May 1799 to her parents Richard, a cabinet maker, and Mary, known as Molly. Richard and Molly had 10 children, and it was not uncommon for the time that only 2 children survived into adulthood. There was an article in a newspaper of the time that Mary's elder sister, also called Mary, was sadly burnt in a fire. It was thought she may have been stoking the house fire when it caught on her clothes. Having been severely burnt, she sadly succumbed to her injuries and died some 4 years before Mary's birth. They were not a wealthy family, and her father Richard supplemented his income by selling fossils he found in the cliffs near the town to tourists. Unfortunately, he died when Mary was 11, but it sowed the seeds and Mary later became a paleontologist, like Ross from Friends. She would often be found around the Charmouth mudstone cliffs, particularly during the winter months when landslides exposed new fossils that had to be collected quickly before they were taken by the tide out to sea. It was in 1833, during a landslide near Charmouth, when she was searching for fossils, that she nearly died, and the landslide did in fact kill her dog. Mary became known around the world for her finds and contributed to changes in scientific thinking about prehistoric life and the history of the Earth. Her discoveries included, and I'm sure people will correct me on the pronunciation, the first correctly identified ichthyosaur skeleton, the first pterosaur skeleton located outside of Germany, the first 2 nearly complete plesiosaur skeletons, along with fish fossils. Anning's observations played a key role in the discovery of coprolites, known as bezoar stones at the time, and if you don't know, these are fossilised poops. As this was the 1800s, and Anning, being a woman, she was not able to fully participate in the scientific community, and she struggled financially for much of her life. She was not eligible to join the Geological Society of London, and she did not always receive the full credit for her scientific contributions. Mary Anning died in 1847 and is buried in the local church grounds. But it wasn't until after her death that her life story attracted increasing interest. In 2010, 163 years after her death, the Royal Society included Anning in a list of the 10 British women who have most influenced the history of science. It has often been claimed that Anning's story was the inspirational for the 1908 tongue twister you may have heard. She sells seashells on the seashore. Lyme Regis is twinned with St George in Bermuda. This is thanks to Admiral Sir George Somers, 1554 to 1610. Sir George was an Elizabethan seafarer, MP, military leader and founder of Bermuda, hence the Somers Islands, England's first crown colony. He was also instrumental in ensuring the survival of the Virginian colony of Jamestown by sailing to their rescue from Bermuda. He returned to Bermuda to collect more supplies but fell ill and died in 1610. His heart was buried in Bermuda, but his body, rather ghoulishly, pickled it in a barrel and landed on the Cobb at Lyme Regis in 1618, 8 years later. It is widely believed that Shakespeare wrote The Tempest in tribute to Sir George Somers. The sea today is exceptionally flat and eerily calm. The coast is subject to large landslips that expose the Jurassic age fossils which can be found on the beaches. The Downlands landslip occurred on the 24th of December 1839, 3 miles west along the coast in Devon. About 45 acres of wheat and turnip fields were dislodged when a great chasm was created. More than 300 by 60 feet and 3/4 of a mile long. That's a whopping 90 metres across and 49 metres deep and 1.2 kilometres long. The crops remained intact on top of what became known as Goat Island. Only 3 months later, on the 3rd of February 1840, a smaller landslip occurred nearby. The phenomenon attracted many visitors and farmers charged sixpence to view it. This area is now known as Undercliff and is of interest for its diverse natural history. Landslides continued to cause problems in the area into the 21st century. In 2005, work began on a £16 million engineering project to stabilise the cliffs and protect the town from coastal erosion. The town's main beach was reconstructed and reopened on the 1st of July 2006. On the evening of the 6th of May 2008, a 400-metre section of land slipped onto the beach between Lyme Regis and Charmouth. Police described the landslip as the worst in 100 years, and the southwest coastal path now heads inland at that point. So we stopped for some lunch and a swim. Ooh, that water was cold. The weather looked as if it might turn, so we started to head back. "250 million years ago, this area of the Earth's crust was stretching and sinking. As it sank, layers of sediment piled one on top of the other to form rocks. First, baking in the deserts during the Triassic period, lasting 50 million years. Then came the more famous Jurassic period, thanks partly to Steven Spielberg and his dinosaur movies. This period stretched from 200 million years ago for about 45 million years, and this is when the sea levels rose and changed the desert into a tropical sea. I could be wrong, but I think if you look very carefully at the picture, you can just see the cob. By the end of the Jurassic period, the sea levels fell, a forest grew, then died, and was buried beneath the swamps and rivers. This was the start of the Cretaceous period, from 145 million years ago to as recent as 66 million years ago. In the Cretaceous period, the sea rose again and the sandstone and chalk were laid across the region, burying the tilted layers of older rock. From then until now, the erosion has carved away the cliffs so we can read these past periods like a book. The erosion hasn't stopped and is ongoing, and this footage I took on a rainy day shows some of the constant issues faced as the water pours off the cliff, taking clumps with it. The entire top section here has slid, and the once healthy tree, now teetering on the edge, could go at any moment. Over in the distance you can see Lyme Regis. Let's delve into the past of the town a little. These cottages on Marine Parade date back to 1830 and are just above the old cart road. The old cart road was used to bring the goods from the ships to the town by horses that were so familiar with the routes they walked it by themselves, all the way from the cob to the town. The houses are situated below Bell Cliff in the town centre, which unsurprisingly is called Bell Cliff because once a bell hung there. The 18th century cannon that is there now formed part of the town's defences at the cob. Much of the old cart road now has multicoloured pastel Victorian style beach huts that can be rented from the council. At this point it started to rain. As Lyme Regis became more and more popular, a train station was added on the 24th of August 1903, but it only lasted 60 odd years and closed in 1965. The station was dismantled and rebuilt on the Watercress Railway in Hampshire. The route to Lyme Regis was notable for being operated by aged Victorian locomotives. One of these, the Adams radial tank engine, is now preserved on the Bluebell Railway in Sussex. For the train spotters out there, The West Country class steam locomotive, number 34009, is named Lyme Regis after the town. But if you're going by train now, the closest station is Axminster. As we approach the end of our journey, let's take a look at the sea plant life. If you watch my Lyme Regis to Monmouth Beach video, you'll know there's a wealth of plant life here, and I just find it amazing.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be starting our descent into Lyme Regis. We are actually heading back into the cobbled beach by the town clock, as the tide is further out than when we left, and it's not possible to return to the slipway where we started. It's actually surprising how you can hear the people on the beach so far out. If you enjoyed the paddle, be sure to check out some of my others. That's it for this time. Take care.